I'd been after an A-880 for quite a while. Now, for those of you who don't know what an A-880 is, it's one of these. It is effectively a MIDI patching unit. So this was before computers. This is how you could route MIDI between devices. So, as people will know, if they've watched any of my other videos, I've got quite a lot of legacy tech, and therefore that legacy tech, when you're talking about moving sounds around, runs on MIDI, or moving note information around, should I say, and sounds. So, I found an A-80, and I bought it. Fully working according to the guy I bought it off, and correctly, it was fully working. The only problem with it was that when I got hold of it, what I didn't read was the fact that this is a 100 volt version of the A-80. It's for the Japanese market, which means that in order for this to work, I have to have a transformer involved. So I had it working with the transformer for a while. Then the other day on eBay, I was looking, and up came another A-80. A-880, should get this right, which is this one. Okay, this being a 240 volt version of the unit. The problem was this unit is 40. Now what the guy who was selling this said to me was it lights up but it doesn't route any signal. So there's obviously a problem with either the motherboard or one of the components inside this. Now this is a 240 volt version, that is a 110 volt version. When I opened up the 110 volt version, the only difference between these two units is the fact that there is a 240 volt transformer with a 240 volt rectification board on it. Sorry, a 110 volt rectification board. On the other one there's a 240 volt, exactly the same. But other than that, all the insides of this particular unit seem to be the same. So I've bought the second unit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap one unit to the other. Well, I'm going to take the guts out and swap one unit for the other. So that's going to be my donor unit, this is going to be my recipient unit. By the time I finish, I should have a working 240 volt A-880 unit. This is how I'm going to do it. So the first thing we have to do on the donor unit is actually take the unit to pieces. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to undo the screws on this particular unit. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and there's 3 screws along the top here. So while I get on undoing the screws, I'll stop the video. So the screws are now out. All 9 of those screws have been released. So we're now just going to slide the top off, like so, and turn it over. So there you go, there's the inside of the donor unit. Now, on the donor unit I need everything but the transformer, the power supply, but everything else needs to come out of this unit. So basically what we need to do now is start taking it to pieces. So we're going to start with the front panel, which is here, and I can see there's 1, 2, 3 screws at the top, and there are 2 screws underneath it, one in either corner. So let's start with the ones underneath it first. Actually, I lied, there are 3 screws underneath it, in the centre as well. Like so. And if we turn it over, there are 3 screws on top. 2. Now one of the things I do when I'm taking things to pieces like this is I always lay the screws out in the order they have been taken out, matching this. So that when I come to put something back together again, I know where I'm taking screws out from. So after that, there's the front strip. As you can see, all the buttons below with little contact strips on them. So I'll put that to one side, and you can see all the LEDs for the buttons and the MIDI contacts over here. Right. Next thing I need to do is I need to disconnect the ribbon connectors from this motherboard. You need to be very, very careful not to put any strain on the connector itself, so I always recommend you grab hold of the actual plastic, and if possible use a pair of pliers or some other instrument so you can get a grip on the plastic and not the cable. This is where a good pair of long nose pliers comes in well. Just put them around the plastic and gently pull. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Very, very careful not to bend the pins on the board. So try and always lift these connectors out straight. Like so. There you go. 3 connectors out of there. So that's the ones at the back. The power socket can just come off like so. And then we just need to remove this one at the front, at the back here. So again, in the centre, and off it comes like so. There you go. So the ribbon connector's unconnected. So now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take out this motherboard. And in order to do that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws at the top, plus 2 screws that lock down this piece. So I've now taken all the screws out of this, and then it just simply comes away to go off to the new unit. The next thing I need to take out is this piece here, so I'm going to undo that now. Now as far as I can see, there are just move that up over like so, 1, 2, 3 screws there, and nothing along the back. So I'm going to take these screws out now to take this piece out. Now I didn't notice that there are also 3 screws in here. 1, 2, 3. So they also need to come out. So now with all 6 screws out, this unit should just lift out. There you go. There's the unit ready to be transplanted. So the final bit I need out of this unit here is I need this bit here. And as far as I can see from this, actually I need this bit as well. So I'm going to start with this piece, which as you see has 4 screws either end of the panel. So I'm going to start by taking those 4 screws out, and then this panel should just come out that way. Now, just as I was starting to take these screws out, what I did notice is that this front piece here, this bit here, is actually only secured with a screw at that end and a screw at that end. So rather than having to unbolt these individually, I think I can just undo that screw and that screw, and I should be able to take this unit to pieces. So let's try that. It's a good idea to have a range of screwdrivers when you're doing this, because sometimes these screws like posi drives with flat ends, and sometimes these screws like posi drives with pointed ends. which is not technically posi dry as I know. So let's take that one out. Let's take that one out. So, like that, and then we just need to take the end. So that was taking the end off the push switch, and out comes that assembly in one go. So there you have it. That's the A880 disassembled, ready to go into the new chassis, where the power supply works but none of the circuitry works, and because this is a 110 volt version, this won't work in this country without a step down transformer, which is a bit useless, so we have to move things from one place to another. So what I'm going to now do is I'm now going to go to my recipient chassis, and I'm going to strip that down exactly the same way as this, and I'm going to put all the bits back into it. So I'm not going to bore you with showing you that on video, because you've seen me take it to pieces. So putting it back together is just the reverse of what I've just done in taking it to pieces. So here we have the unit's been put back together. Different transformer, as you can see. Board's now in. This piece is now in. The back, there you go. Front is now in. Just remains for me to finish putting the shield back on with all the buttons on it and putting the unit back together. So that's the front put back on. Everything seems to be connected. Now to put the cover on, put the rack ears back on, and that is done. So we have the A880, or should I say, all put back together again, and this is now a full 240 volt version. Everything should now theoretically be working. Of course, the acid test is to plug it in. Right. The acid test is, it has come on. It's running through its startup sequence. There you go, ready to rock and roll. So there you go, one unit, 240 volt, donor unit put into it. Wonderful.